ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोन् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So we will start our session. So we are getting into the third chapter of the second canto of Bhagavatam. So the first chapter, it started off with the questions of Parikshit Maharaj, and in fact the first canto end, it started off with the questions of Parikshit Maharaj, and second canto is the answer by Sukadeva Goswami. And the first sloka itself, we will see that Sukadeva Goswami is concluding saying that, "No, thus I have answered your questions," like that. So, and then the third chapter is going to progress a little more. Further, Sukadeva Goswami will speak something more, and then after that, he will, kind of, stop. Then still further, the other devotees, the Shaunakadi rishis, who are hearing from Suta Goswami, so they want to learn more. So then there are wonderful set of slokas that are there in the later portion of the third chapter, so which talks about the value of this human form of life, and then gradually it leads to further discussion of Bhagavatam. So let's start the third chapter now. श्रीसुक उवाच एवमेतन्निगदितं पृष्टवान् यद्भवान् मम नृणां यन्निर्यमानानां मनुष्येषु मनीषिणाम्. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, as you have inquired from me as to the duty of the intelligent man who's on the threshold of death, so I have answered you. Purport. In the human society all over the world, there are millions and billions of men and women, and almost all of them are less intelligent because they have very little knowledge of spirit soul. Almost all of them have a wrong conception of life, for they identify themselves with the gross and subtle material bodies, which they are not. In fact, they may be situated in different high and low positions in the estimation of human society, but one should know definitely that unless one inquires about his own self beyond the body and mind, all his activities in human life are total failures. Therefore, out of thousands and thousands of men, one may inquire about the spirit self and thus consult revealed scriptures like Vedanta Sutra, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. But in spite of reading and hearing such scriptures, unless one is in touch with a realized spiritual master, he cannot actually realize the real nature of the self, etc. And out of um, thousands and hundreds of thousands of men, someone may know what Krishna is. In fact, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 20:122 to 123, it is said that Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, prepared the Vedic literature in the incarnation of Vyasadeva for reading by the intelligent class of men in a human society, which is almost totally forgetful of genuine relation with Krishna. Even such an intelligent class of men may be forgetful in their relation with Krishna. The whole Bhakti Yoga process is therefore a revival of lost relationship. This revival is possible in the human form of life, which is obtained only out of the evolutionary cycle of 84 lakh species of life. the intelligent class of human beings must take a serious note of this opportunity. Not all human beings are intelligent, so the importance of human life is not always understood. Therefore, manishinam, meaning thoughtful, in particularly used here. A manishinam person like Maharaj Parikshit must therefore take to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and fully engage himself in devotional service, hearing, chanting, etc. of the holy name and pastimes of the Lord, which are all Hari Kathamrita. So, this action is especially recommended when one is preparing for death. So, basically, the last chapter, if we remember, the second chapter, it ended with this whole thing about Hari Kathamrita. So, to hear about the nectar of the pastimes of the Lord, or subject matter which is dealing with the Lord, right? So, in this purport, it's very nicely mentioned about this message of Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for the most intelligent class of people. So there are so many people out there in this world, but then not everybody are intelligent enough. Intelligence means to inquire about the Supreme Brahman, to inquire about the Supreme Lord. So that is the sign of intelligence. And the Vedic literature starts with the aphorism. That means the Vedanta Sutra starts with this aphorism that Atata Brahma Jignasa. Therefore, one must inquire into the Supreme Absolute. Right. So this is a very, very important factor, that if we are intelligent enough, then we should be inquiring about the Brahman, inquiring about the Supreme Lord. So we cannot gauge this intelligence based on the material calculation. In material calculation, what is intelligence? Like if you are able to get a lot of degrees, if you are able to earn a lot of money and things like that, that's considered to be intelligence. And but then in the spiritual path, if we are able to differentiate between body and soul, that is considered to be intelligence, right? So the difference between body and soul is the most important aspect. So to inquire about soul, to inquire about spirit and the absolute spirit, the Supreme Lord, that's considered to be intelligence. So for them, the Lord has prepared this, like Vedic literatures in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. So Lord has prepared his Vedic literatures for these intelligent class of people. So common people cannot take advantage of Vedic literatures. So for then what then to be done for the common people? They have to get Sukruti. They have to get lot of pious credits before they can get the access to Vedic literatures. So this is something very important, that if we are meeting anybody new, and anybody who's completely not in touch with any of the devotional processes, so then we can request them to chant the names of the Lord, or we can request them to take the prasadam of the Lord. And if they do so, then their sukruti actually increases. And if they render any service to a pure devotee of the Lord, so then their sukruti increases. And when their Sukruti comes to a particular level of maturity, that is when they will be able to understand about the Supreme Lord. That is when they will be able to understand the Vedic literatures. So it is not that easy, to like every single day to focus on the Vedic literatures, to focus on Srimad Bhagavatam, to hear. It is not an easy thing. It is not at all an easy thing. And only people with lot of Sukruti, lot of punya, devotional punya. So they will only be able to do this thing of hearing Bhagavatam every single day, right? So we are very, very fortunate in that way, that we have come so far that we are able to chant the names of the Lord, and then we are able to hear Srimad Bhagavatam every day, right? So it is really very, we should feel ourselves really very blessed to be, able to read Srimad Bhagavatam every single day, right? So now we will see text 2 to 7. Probably till 8th or 9th sloka, it is going to be like Shukadeva Goswami is going to tell that if you want this, you can worship this devata. If you want that, you can worship that devata. Finally, if you don't have any material desires, then you can worship the Supreme Lord. And then, to give a topping on that, he says, okay, whether you have material desires or don't have material desires, just to worship of the Supreme Lord. So till we come to 8th, 9th slokas, like, no, please hold on. So it's going to be a little bewildering. No, like why is Bhagavatam giving all these things? So, but then we will see little bit of this. From sloka 2 to 8 or 9. It's going to be a little bit of No, it'll seem like no Bhagavatam is encouraging the demigod worship, but then it is not. So we will conclude it with with a logical conclusion after that, right? So text 2 to 7. Brahmavarchasa kamastu yajeta brahmanapatim indram indriya kamastu praja kama prajapatin devim mayam tu shri kamas tejas kamo vibhav vasum vasu kamo vasun rudran virya kamota viryavan annadya kamastva aditim swarga kamodithe suthan Vishwan Devan Rajakamah Sadhyan Samsadako Visham Ayuskamo Ashvino Devo Pushtikamo Leelam Yajet Pratishta Kama Purusho Rodashi Lokamataro Rupabhikamo Gandharvan Strikamo Apsara Urvashim um, आदिपत्यकाम सर्वेषां यजेत परमेष्टिनां यज्ञां यज्ञ यशस्कामः कोशकाम प्रचेतसां विद्याकामस्तु गिरिशां दाम्पत्यार्थ उमां सतीम्. Okay, so this is going to speak about no like various things. If you desire this thing, no, then you worship this demigod. If you desire that thing, then you worship that demigod. It's going to be like that. So we will just be there for this sloka and next two more slokas. It's going to be like that. Okay, translation. One who desires to be absorbed in impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, that is Lord Brahma or Brahaspati, the learned priest. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king Indra. One who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitors called Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One who desiring to be powerful should worship fire, and one who aspire only after money should worship the Vasus. One should worship Rudra incarnations of Lord Shiva if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants a great stock of grains should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planets should worship the sons of Aditi, Adityas. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishwadeva. And one who wants to be popular with general mass of population should worship Sadhya demigod. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods known as the Ashwini Kumaras, and a person desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in post should worship the horizon and earth combined, and one who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet. And one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the Urvashi, society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires domination over others should worship Brahma, the head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. And one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. If one desires to be a greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva. And if one desires a good marital relation, he should worship the chaste goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. Okay, so this is quite bewildering thing. Anyway, the purport. There are different methods of worship for different persons desiring success in particular subjects. The conditioned soul living within the purview of the material world cannot be an expert in every type of materially enjoyable asset, but one can have considerable influence over a particular matter by worshipping a particular demigod, as mentioned above. Ravana was made a very powerful man by worshipping Lord Shiva, and he used to offer several heads to please Lord Shiva. He became so powerful by the grace of Lord Shiva that all the demigods were afraid of him until he at last challenged by the personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra, and thus ruined himself. In other words, all such persons who aspire after gaining some or all of the material objects of enjoyment or gross materialistic persons are on the whole less intelligent, as confirmed by Bhagavad Gita 7:20. So it is said there that those who are bereft of all good sense, or those whose intelligence is withdrawn by the deluding energy of Maya, aspire to achieve all sorts of material enjoyment in life by pleasing the various demigods or by advancing in material civilization under the heading of scientific progress. The real problem of life in the material world is to solve the question of birth, death, old age, and disease. No one wants to change his birthright. No one wants to meet death. No one wants to be old or invalid, and no one wants disease. But these problems are solved neither by the grace of any demigod nor by the so-called advancement of material science. So here it's a very important point. The in Bhagavad Gita, the aspects of knowledge is being mentioned. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. So one who is able to see the birth, death, old age, and disease as the real problems of life, he is in knowledge, right? So he is properly in knowledge. So now all these demigods, like who were like recommended to be worshipped for different things, right? So good bank balance means Varuna, and like good strength and power means like fire god and things like that and all. So these are all there, but all these things cannot solve our main problem of birth, death, old age, and disease. And somebody who's not solving these main problems and who's trying to make some, it's like no, we are put into a jail, and then no, we are trying to gain some political power within the jail. No, trying to gain some supremacy amongst the all the prisoners who are there, right? So that's what we are trying to do in this material world. This material world is just like a prison house, and in this prison house, there is warden is there, there is many other in charges are there. So if we put maska for them, then no, we will get some power in this material world. But what's the point? An intelligent person will say, like, no, release me first from here. I want to get out of this jail, right? So that's the primary thing that we have to look upon, right? So none of these demigods can offer us no birth, death, no freedom from birth, death, old age, and disease. No, that's not possible for them, right? So in this way, like we can see that this is a very important point. These demigods worships are done by less intelligent people. Kames hitagyana prapadyante anya devata. So those people whose intelligence is fully deluded by the kama or material desires, they go behind the demigods. But then those people who are purified in their intelligence, they worship the supreme lord, right? So let's continue the purport. In the Bhagavad Gita as well as in Srimad Bhagavatam, such less intelligent persons have been described as devoid of all good sense. Shukadeva Goswami said that out of 84 lakh species of living entities, the human form of life is rare and valuable. Out of those rare human beings, those who are cautious of material problems are rarer still. And then still more rare persons are those who are conscious of the value of Srimad Bhagavatam, and which contains the message of Lord and his pure devotees. Right? So first of all, like birth, death, old age, and disease, considering birth, death, old age, and disease to be a real problem, that itself is quite rare. And even if people are considering that, no, like I have to get liberation from this birth, death, old age, and disease. Even amongst that, no muktanam api siddhanam, no, like Vasudeva Parayana, it's very difficult to find one person who is interested in Srimad Bhagavatam amongst all these mukta purushas, all these people who are desiring after liberation from birth, death, old age, and disease, right? So that's the primary aspect that is mentioned here. So to get attraction for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, the message of the Lord and message of the pure devotees, it is really very difficult. And somehow or other, all of us are able to come together and study Srimad Bhagavatam every day. That's a great fortune, for all of us, right? So death is inevitable for everyone, intelligent or foolish. But Maharaj Parikshit Maharaj has been addressed by the Goswami as Manishi, a man of highly developed mind, because at the time of death he felt all material enjoyment. He left all material enjoyment and completely surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord by hearing his message from the right person, Shukadeva Goswami. But aspirations for material enjoyment by endeavoring persons are aspirations for material enjoyment by endeavoring persons are condemned. Such aspirations are something like the intoxication of degraded human society. Intelligent persons should try to avoid these aspirations and seek instead the permanent life by returning home back to Godhead, right? So this is the intelligence. If all the demigods worship is mentioned here, but then as I mentioned in the like two more slokas down in the line, we will know like what is Bhagavatam is up to. So what is the value that Bhagavatam is attaching to all these things, right? Dharmartha Uttama Shlokam Tantu Tanvan Pitrin Yajet Raksha Kama Punyajanan Ojas Kamo Marudganan. One should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotee for spiritual advancement in knowledge and for protection of hereditary and advancement of a dynasty. One should worship the various demigods. Right? Purport. The path of religion entails making progress on the path of spiritual advancement, ultimately reviving the eternal relation with Lord Vishnu in his impersonal effulgence, his localized Paramatma feature, and ultimately his personal feature by the by the spiritual advancement in knowledge. So here it's mentioned the path of religion. No, the actual path of religion starts when somebody is trying to get out of this birth, death, old age, and disease. And if he is trying to get out of this birth, death, old age, and disease, then his goal must be one of these three things. That is, one is he's aiming at the impersonal effulgence, or he's aiming at the localized Paramatma, or he's aiming at the Supreme Absolute Lord, that is Sri Krishna, by spiritual advancement. So one of these three things would be their goal. No, that is when the real religion actually comes in. So nowadays, we see that what actually in the name of religion is practiced is you have some material problems. You do this yajna, you do that yajna, you do this worship, then you know your this dosha will go, that dosha will go. That is all called as sub-religious principles. They are not real religious principles. They are sub-religious principles. Real religion means no nate viduswata gatim hi Vishnu durashayaye bahiratthamanina. Right? So it is somebody has to come to the point of worshipping the Supreme Lord. That is when the real religion starts, right? So that is why in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna mentions Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtraigunya Bhavarjuna. Right? So he says that all the Vedic literatures, 95% of the Vedic literatures, or even more, are no Traigunya Vishaya Veda. No, this is all contaminated by the three modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. That is why the intelligent class of people, even amongst the followers of the Vedas, they would take shelter of Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and books like that. They would not go to other Vedic literatures. Other Vedic literatures are primarily glorifying about various demigods and primarily talking about how you can live a flourishing material life, in the material world. It's almost like you can say that if you are in the jail, then most of the Vedic literatures are teaching us how to gain a better position in the jail, right? And only 5% of the Vedic literatures are talking about how to get out of this jail and how to get out of the jail and then go to a very respectable position in the society, right? So that is what the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and literatures like that. So sometimes people say why the Vedas are contradictory. In one place, no, the material advancement is glorified, and other place it is not. So it is because the people, no, it is mentioned Nigama Kalpataru, no, like this Vedic literatures is like the Kalpataru. Kalpataru means the desire fulfilling tree. And desire fulfilling tree has no, that means what? Whatever you desire you have, the Vedic literatures will fulfill that thing. And then amongst the desire fulfilling tree, the Nigama, no, like Nigama is like the this one, it means Vedas, and Kalpataru, Galitam Phalam. The most mature fruit, or the Galitam means like I think in Hindi also this word has a meaning. Galita means like the most ripened fruit of the the Kalpavriksha of the Vedic tree is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is not going to talk about the material advancement. It is not going to talk about any of the things that are connected to this material world. It is going to talk about liberation, and it is going to talk about the liberation in its highest sense, that is worship of the Supreme Lord. And the topmost of the all the like forms of worship is Shravanam and Kirtanam. So we are we are speaking about Bhagavatam and hearing about Bhagavatam. This is the topmost form of religious principles that one can actually perform. And also, every single day we are chanting the names of the Lord. If we can chant the names of the Lord with lot of attention, and then hear the names of the Lord and with lot of attention, so then that is also the greatest form of worship. We will see, already we have seen in the first canto so many times, this particular thing is glorified again and again. And even further also, we will see in Srimad Bhagavatam that how this one single thing of chanting and hearing, it is so very powerful, and it can actually give us all perfection, actually, right? So real path of religion means to, like, as it is mentioned here, so ultimately reviving no one's this one as no like aiming towards impersonal effulgence or localized Paramatma, or ultimately the no supreme absolute truth, no in his personal feature, right? So, and one who wants to establish a good dynasty and be happy in the progress of temporary bodily relations should take shelter of the Pitas and the demigods and other pious planets. Such different classes of worshippers of different demigods may ultimately reach the respective planets of those demigods within the universe, within the material universe, actually. But he who reaches the spiritual planets in the Brahma Jyoti achieves the highest perfection. So, reaching the planet of the demigods is not liberation. The demigods themselves are not liberated, and reaching the planets of the demigods are also not considered to be liberation, right? So, it is still bondage. It's a better bondage, you can say, like, no. As I was mentioning, that to gain some political control within the prison house, right? So, that's considered to be a better bondage. So, okay. So, we'll read further. Rajakamo manun devan nirrithim tva abhicharan yajed kama kamo yajed somam akama purusham param. One who desires domination over kingdom or an empire should worship the Manus. One who desires victory over an enemy should worship the demons. And one who desires sense gratification should worship moon. But one who desires nothing of material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For a liberated person, all enjoyments listed above are considered to be absolutely useless. Only those who are conditioned by material modes of external energy are captivated by different types of material enjoyment. In other words, the transcendentalist has no material desires to be fulfilled, whereas the materialist has all types of desires to be fulfilled. The Lord has proclaimed that the materialist who desire material enjoyment and thus seek the favor of the different demigods, as above mentioned, are not in control of their senses and so give themselves to nonsense. One should therefore not desire any sort of material enjoyment, being sensible, sensible enough to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The leaders of nonsensical persons are still more nonsensical because they preach openly and foolishly that one can worship any form of demigod and get the same result, right? So it is not possible. Yatomat tatopat, like that. So whatever demigod you worship, and you will all reach to the same destination. That is all bogus philosophy. It is very, very clearly mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Yanti Devan Vitan Deva, Pitrin Yanti Pitrivita, Bhutani Yanti Bhutejya, Yantiman Yajinopimam. So if you worship no demigods, you will go to their planet. If you worship the Pitas, you will go to their planet. And then if you worship the Bhutas, no, you will go to the planets of the Bhutas. And if you worship the Supreme Lord, you will get liberation and go to Vaikuntha, right? So that's very, very important. So none of the other planets are called as Vaikuntha. No, all other planets are Kunta, means they have misery. No, that is also clarified in Bhagavad Gita. A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. All these places are places of repeated birth and death, right? So that's what is the places of the demigods. And any intelligent person, if he anyway has to invest time on worshipping the Supreme Lord, he would invest time on worshipping the Supreme Lord Vishnu. No, why would he invest time on worshipping the demigods to just increment the term of imprisonment in this material world, right? So that's kind of foolishness, right? So that's what is mentioned here. Okay. So this sort of preaching, that means etomat tatopat, whatever demigods you worship, you will get the same result. So this sort of preaching is not only against the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, are those of Srimad Bhagavatam, but it is also foolish, just as it is foolish to claim that with the purchase of any travel ticket, one may reach the same destination. No, it's as foolish as that. So if you purchase a ticket to Delhi, you will go to Delhi only. No, you will purchase a ticket to Calcutta, you will go to Calcutta only. You will not go to another destination, right? So no one can reach Bombay from Delhi by purchasing a ticket for Baroda. It is clearly defined herein that persons impregnated with the different desires have different modes of worship, but one who has no desire for material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. And this worshipping process is called devotional service. Pure devotional service means service to the Lord without any tinge of material desires, including desires for fruitive activity and emphoric philosophical speculation. For fulfillment of material desires, one may worship the Supreme Lord, but the result of such worship is different, as will be explained in the next verse. Generally, the Lord does not fulfill anyone's material desire for sense enjoyment, but he awards such benedictions to worshippers of the Lord, for they ultimately come to the point of not desiring anything, not desiring material enjoyment. The conclusion is that one must minimize the desires for material enjoyment, and for this, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described here as Param, or beyond anything material. Sripad Sankaracharya also stated Narayana Paro Avyaktat, that the Supreme Lord is beyond the material encirclement, right? So here it's mentioned that no, Nivrita Tushtar Upadhiyamanam, no, Bhavo Shadi Shotamano Virama. So it is very important that a person who has given up all material desires, they take up to the process of worshipping the Supreme Lord, right? So otherwise, if they have material desires, they generally tend to go behind the devatas, demigods in this world. And if by mistake, if the people who have a lot of material desires, if they worship the Supreme Lord, what will happen? So that's as Prabhupada is mentioning in this shloka. So that is explained in the next shloka, in the 10th sloka. So it's a very, very amazing sloka, which is repeated. It is there in the first canto, second chapter, and then it is there in the third chapter of second canto. So it's repeating, this shloka is repeating, in its number of occurrences. It's a very, very important shloka actually. Akamaha sarva kamo va moksha kama udharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of material desires, without any material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. Right? So here it's some nice words are used. Akamaha. Akamaha means no desire. No, kama means desire, and akama means no desire. And sarva kamova, either one may have no desires, that means no material desires, or all material desires. He has all possible material desires. Or he has moksha kama, he wants to get liberation, liberation from the material world. So, if any of these people, whatever may be the desires that are there in them, but if he is udaradi, udara means very, very large, large-hearted person, or here di means like intelligence, he's a broader intelligence, one who has got a broader intelligence. Tivrena means with great force. Bhakti yogena means to perform bhakti. Ejeta means to worship. Purusham param, the supreme absolute truth, the Purna Purushottam Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Right? So this is very important, that one may have different desires, but if they have kubuddhi, if they have a limited intelligence or lesser intelligence, then they may go to demigods. But then if they are udaradi, if they are having broader intelligence, then they will go to Purusham Param. Right? So that is the important thing here. Right? And in the previous purport, Prabhupada told that if the Supreme Lord doesn't fulfill anybody's material desires, but then still the result is very good. If we approach the Supreme Lord. In fact, it is asked. A question is asked in the in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. So there it is mentioned that Parikshit Maharaj is asking that the Lord Vishnu, he is the Lakshmi Pati. He is the master of Lakshmi. and he has all the opulences of the entire world. No, he's the master of all the opulences. But still, his devotees are almost always seen very poor. And then, no, Lord Shiva, no, he lives in a very poverty-stricken condition. He doesn't even is willing to construct a cottage for himself. He and his wife live under a tree. No, that's how they live themselves. But then the worshippers of Lord Shiva, no, like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu, and many other great personalities, like who were all worshippers of Lord Shiva. They all had so much of wealth. So why is this contrast? Why is this Lord Vishnu's devotees, who's Vishnu, who's the Lakshmipati, his devotees are always almost seen, like poor. And then like Sudama and many other devotees. There are devotees like Yudhishthir and other people also, but they also have to go through a lot of tribulations and pain and things like that. So why is it that Lord Vishnu's devotees have to always go through such kind of tribulations? So then the answer is that the demons who worship Lord Shiva is a devotee of the Lord, but then primarily demons choose Lord Shiva to be worshipped because Lord Shiva is very, very easy to please. No, you see, somebody is doing tapasya for Lord Vishnu, thousands of years, no, Vishnu will not come. But then Lord Shiva will immediately come. So generally the demons, they like no quick results. Immediately I want the result. Right. So they choose Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is like fully absorbed in meditation. And then whenever such people are worshipping him, so just to avoid the disturbance, he will just go and then whatever they ask for, he will just give it. That's all. Like no, you have it. Whatever you want, you just have it, right? So then that is why the demons choose to worship Lord Shiva. But then the Sattvatas, like Lord Shiva himself teaches this thing to the Prachatas, the 10 sons of King Prachini Barihi, that worship of the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the ultimate, right? So here we see then why Vishnu's devotees have to go through a lot of tribulations. So Vishnu wants to take these people back to the spiritual world, and he wants to wash them off of all the material desires. That is why he sometimes put his devotees under poverty-stricken condition. And in this condition, they exclusively take shelter of the Lord, and then they become completely purified, right? So this is something like very important aspect, right? So now we will see more in detail in this purport. It will come. So a person who has a broader intelligence, whether he be full of material desires, without material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. Right? Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Purushottama, Purusha Uttama. Like no, he's the best amongst all the Purushas, no? Or the personality, or Supreme Personality, right? So personality, Purusha means personality, and Uttama means supreme. So Supreme Personality, right? So it is he only who can award liberation to the impersonalist by absorbing such aspirants in the Brahma Jyoti, the bodily rays of the Lord. The Brahma Jyoti is not separate from the Lord, as the glowing sun rays is not independent of the sun disk. Therefore, one who desires to merge into the supreme impersonal Brahma Jyoti must also worship this Lord by Bhakti Yoga, or as recommended here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhakti Yoga is especially stressed here as the means of all perfection. In the previous chapters, it has been stated that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal of both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And in the same way, in this chapter, it is emphatically declared that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal of different varieties of worship of the different demigods. Bhakti Yoga, thus being the supreme means of self-realization, is recommended here. Everyone must therefore seriously take up the method of Bhakti Yoga, even though one aspires for material enjoyment or liberation from material bondage. So, akamaha is one who has no material desire. A living being, naturally being the part and parcel of the Supreme Whole, Purusham Purnam, has as his natural function to serve the Supreme Being, just as the part and parcels of the body or the limbs of the body are naturally meant to serve the complete body, right? So Prabhupada's often given example is like this hand, is meant to serve the body, And in the same way, like, no, this hand is part and parcel of the body. In the same way, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and we are meant to serve the Supreme Lord, right? So now here we are talking about akama. That means one who has finished all the material desires, such people. So then what do? They render the service unto the Supreme Lord. So being just as the part and parcel of the body or limb of the body are naturally meant to serve the complete body. Desireless means, therefore, not to be inert like stone, but to be conscious of one's actual position and thus desire satisfaction. Just a minute, I'm getting a call. Hare Krishna Po. I'm in a class. I'll just message you Po in 10 minutes. Okay. No, you just ask him to wait. No, like class is ending in 10 minutes. Nobody's there next to me. Yeah, yeah. Hmm? So just wait for 10 minutes. I'll get back. Okay. So here it's mentioned about hmm, the limbs of the body are naturally meant to serve. Yeah. Desirelessness means not to become like stones. No, they have the desires to become the servant of the Lord, right? So, but to conscious of one's actual position and thus desire satisfaction only from the Supreme Lord. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this desirelessness as um, bhajaniya parama purusha sukha matra swa sukhatvam in his sandarbha. This means that one should feel happy only by experiencing the happiness of the Supreme Lord. This institution of living, this institution of the living being is sometimes manifested even during the conditioned stage of living being in the material world. And such, intuition. This intuition of the living being is sometimes manifested even during the conditioned stage of living being in the material world. And such intuition is expressed in the manner of altruism, philosophy, socialism, communism, etc., by the undeveloped minds of less intelligent persons. In the mundane field, such an outlook of doing good to others in the form of society, community, family, country, or humanity is a partial manifestation of the same original feeling in which a pure living entity feels happiness by the happiness of the Supreme Lord. Such superb feeling were exhibited by the damsels of Rajabhumi for happiness of the Lord. So that means no any activity that is performed that should be performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So then it is called devotional service. No, social service is not called devotional service. Social service where no the Lord is not in the picture. No one is serving one's own self or one's own extended self, right? So he's not doing the service to the Lord. So then it is not called as devotional service. The gopis loved the Lord without any return, and this is the perfect exhibition of a kama spirit. Kama spirit or desire for one's own satisfaction is fully exhibited in the material world, whereas the spirit of akama is fully exhibited in the spiritual world. Thoughts, no, here akama means like no kama means like no material desires. No kama is used for material desires. And spiritual desires, the word prema is used, right? Thoughts of becoming one with the Lord or being merged in Brahma Jyoti can also be exhibitions of kama spirit if they are desires for one's own satisfaction to be free from material miseries. A pure devotee does not want liberation uh, so that he may be relieved from material miseries of life. Even without so-called liberation, a pure devotee is aspirant for the satisfaction of the Lord. Influenced by Kama spirit, Arjuna declined to fight in Kurukshetra battlefield because he wanted to save his relatives for his own satisfaction. But being a pure devotee, he agreed to fight on the instructions of the Lord because he came to his senses and realized that satisfaction of Lord at the cost of his own satisfaction was his prime duty. No, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was thinking that like no, I have to take care of for my satisfaction. I will feel good, no, if all my relatives are there, no, all these people are there, and things like that. Then finally he told, no, okay, karishye vachanam tava. Whatever you desire, my Lord, I will do it. So that is devotional service, right? Um, Thus, he became a akama, the perfect, no, that is the perfect stage of perfect living being. Udaradi means one who has a broader outlook. People with desires for material enjoyment worship small demigods. Such intelligence is condemned in Bhagavad Gita 7:20 as Hitagyana, Kamastaitra Hitagyana, Prapadyante Anya Devata. The intelligence of one who has lost his senses. Right? One cannot obtain any result from demigods without getting sanction from the Supreme Lord. Therefore, a person with a broader outlook can see that ultimate authority is the Lord, even for material benefits. Under the circumstances, one with broader outlook, even with desire for material enjoyment or for liberation, should take to the worship of the Lord directly. And everyone, whether an akama or sakama or mokshakama, should worship the Lord with great expedience. No, with lot of no trust, one should worship. No, whether whatever maybe one's desires are. This implies that bhakti yoga may be perfectly administered without any mixture of kama and jnana, as the unmixed sun rays is very forceful and is therefore called tivra. No, similarly, unmixed bhakti yoga of hearing, chanting, etc., may be performed by one and all, regardless of inner motive. So it's very nicely put. Now, if we don't have any no materially contaminated desires, if we are purely trying to serve the Lord, no, without any material exchange, no, we are doing devotional service without any material exchange. So then, no, that thing is called Tivra Bhakti, and we can make so much fast progress, no, in that way, right? So we will stop here. I have some things to be received. So thank you very much for your, like careful audience for the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we will meet again, tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. In the meanwhile, if anybody has questions, they can put it in the in the WhatsApp group. They can send me a message privately. Right? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.